The first time I saw Mara Voss, she looked like someone standing on the edge of a decision she wasn't ready to make. It was late, the kind of night where the street feels thinner, quieter, like the world has stepped back for a moment. My food stall sat under a flickering yellow bulb, the smell of grilled bread and spices hanging in the cold air. I was packing up when she appeared out of nowhere. She didn't say anything at first. Just stood there, hands clenched, eyes darting behind her like she expected someone to follow. "You're closing," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded. "I can make one more." She hesitated, too long for it to be about food. I noticed the faint bruise near her wrist, half hidden under her sleeve. The way she flinched when a car passed too fast. Something wasn't right. I handed her a warm plate anyway. No charge. She blinked at me like I'd just broken some unspoken rule. "I didn't," she started. "I know," I said gently. She sat on the wooden crate beside the stall, eating slowly, like she hadn't had a moment to breathe in days. Neither of us spoke for a while. The silence wasn't awkward, it was fragile. Then she said something I didn't expect. "Do you ever feel like your life belongs to someone else?" I looked at her. Really looked this time. "Yes," I said. "But it shouldn't." Her eyes filled, not with tears but with something heavier. She stood abruptly, left half the food untouched and placed a few crumpled bills on the counter. "I'll come back," she said. But the way she said it didn't sound like a promise. Sounded like a question. Her name, I learned the next evening, was Mara Voss. She came back just like she said she might. Same time. Same cautious steps. Same habit of scanning the street before approaching, as if the night itself could betray her. But this time she spoke a little more. "Soup," she said, keeping her voice low. I handed it to her without asking for money. She noticed. "You'll go out of business doing that," she said. "Not if I choose who gets it," I replied. For a moment, something almost like a smile touched her face, but it vanished quickly. Over the next week, a pattern formed. She'd arrive just before closing. Always alone. Always tense. And every time she'd linger a little longer. She never complained outright. Never told her story fully. But pieces slipped through the cracks. A missed call she couldn't ignore. A schedule she didn't control. A home that didn't feel like one. Then one night she came in shaking. Not cold. Fear. I didn't ask questions. I just poured her tea and slid it across. "You don't have to say anything," I told her. That's when she finally broke her silence. "He checks everything," she whispered. "My phone, my bag, even the way I talk to people." I felt something tighten in my chest. "What's his name?" I asked. She hesitated. Then, "Adrian Kroll." The way she said it wasn't just a name. It was a weight. Before I could respond, she stood abruptly again. "I shouldn't be here this long." She left faster than usual that night. And for the first time, I had a feeling someone else knew exactly where she was. I met Adrian Kroll 2 nights later. Or rather, he made sure I saw him. It was earlier than Mara usually arrived. The street was still alive with chatter and footsteps when a black car rolled to a slow stop across from my stall. Not flashy but deliberate. He stepped out like he owned the ground beneath him. Controlled. The kind of man who didn't raise his voice because he didn't have to. He didn't come to order food. He came to observe. Our eyes met briefly, and in that second I understood something without a word being spoken. He knew. Not everything. But enough. He walked closer, scanning the stall like it was beneath him. "You stay open late," he said. "People get hungry late," I replied. He nodded slowly as if filing that answer away. Then he placed money on the counter. 2 meals, he said. "For takeaway." I prepared them without speaking. My hand stayed steady but my thoughts didn't. As I handed him the bag, he leaned in slightly. "My wife," he said almost casually, "has a habit of wandering." There was not concern. "If she comes by," he continued, "you'll let me know." It wasn't a request. I met his gaze. "I don't keep track of customers." Pause. "Long enough to matter." Then he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "That's unfortunate," he said. He took the food and walked away. The car disappeared into the night. And for the first time since opening that stall, I felt like I'd just stepped into something far bigger than I understood. When Mara returned that night, she already knew. Not because I told her. Because she could feel it. You saw him, she said immediately. I didn't lie. Yes. Her shoulders dropped, not in relief but in resignation. What did he say? I told her. Every word. She listened without interrupting, her fingers tightening around the edge of the counter until her knuckles turned pale. He's getting suspicious, she murmured. You mean controlling, I said. She shook her head quickly. You don't understand. He wasn't always like this. There it was again, that instinct to defend him. I leaned closer. Then what changed? She hesitated, longer than ever before. Then finally, I stopped being who he wanted. Silence fell between us. Heavy. Why don't you leave? I asked carefully. Her eyes snapped to mine, not angry, just afraid. You think it's that simple? No, I said. But I think it's possible. She laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. He has connections, influence. People listen to him. And you? I asked. She looked down. I used to matter too. That line stayed with me. Used to. Before I could say anything else, she leaned in closer, her voice barely audible. If someone wanted to disappear, start over, is that even real? I didn't answer right away. As I realized, this wasn't a hypothetical, and whatever I said next would change everything. I didn't plan to get involved. People like me, we survive by staying out of things that don't belong to us. But Mara's question didn't leave my mind. So when she returned the next night, I gave her an answer. Yes, I said. It's possible. She stared at me like I'd just opened a door she was afraid to step through. How? I wiped my hands slowly, buying time. Carefully, quietly, and not all at once. That's when the line shifted. From listening to helping. Over the next few days, our conversations changed. Less about surviving. More about leaving. I didn't do anything reckless. No dramatic plans. Just small, practical steps. What documents she'd need. What she could safely take. How to move without drawing attention. She listened like someone memorizing a map out of a burning building. But fear followed every step. What if he finds out? What if I fail? What if I have nowhere to go? Each question heavier than the last. You won't be alone, I told her. The moment I said it, I realized I meant it. That night she didn't leave right away. She stayed longer than ever before, sitting beside the stall watching the empty street. I used to think kindness was dangerous, she said quietly. Why? Because it makes you trust people. I nodded. And that scares you? She looked at me, really looked this time. Yes. Pause. Then almost like a confession. But I think I trust you anyway. And just like that, there was no going back. Once you start noticing something, you can't unsee it. Mara began revealing more, not all at once, but in fragments that painted a clearer picture of Adrian Kroll. His control wasn't loud. It was precise. He didn't shout, he corrected. Didn't isolate her, he managed who she saw. Didn't threaten, he reminded her what she had to lose. Reputation. Stability. Identity. He built everything around me, she said one night. Then made sure I couldn't exist without it. And now? I asked. She looked away. Now I don't even recognize myself in it. That's when I understood something important. This wasn't just about leaving a person. It was about reclaiming a life. But Adrian wasn't blind. Mara started noticing changes. Questions asked more often. Movements tracked more closely. He checked my phone twice yesterday, she said, voice tight. Then we stopped using it, I replied immediately. Every step forward came with risk. Every plan had to adjust. And yet, she kept coming back. Kept choosing this fragile path forward. Until one night, she didn't show up. At first I told myself it was nothing. Then an hour passed. Then the stall felt colder than usual. Quieter. Empty in a way that didn't make sense. I packed up slower than ever that night. Because something in my gut told me. This wasn't just a missed visit. It was the beginning of something going wrong. She didn't come back the next day. Or the day after that. At first I told myself it was caution. Maybe Adrian was watching more closely. Maybe she needed time. But by the fourth day, that explanation stopped working. The routine we'd built, fragile as it was, had vanished completely. And routines don't just disappear without a reason. I started noticing things I hadn't before. The same black car passing twice. A man lingering too long across the street. Paranoia? Maybe. Or maybe not. Customers came and went, but I barely registered them. My focus stayed fixed on the corner where she always appeared. Waiting. Hoping. Replaying every conversation we'd had. Did I push too hard? Did I make things worse? Then on the 6th night, something finally happened. Not Mara. Someone else. A man approached the stall. Not Adrian, but someone close enough to feel connected. You know her, he said without introduction. I didn't respond. He leaned closer. You should forget her. A statement, not advice. Before I could react, he placed something on the counter. A small, folded piece of paper. Then he walked away. Just like that. No explanation. No warning beyond the obvious. My hands felt heavier than they should as I picked it up. But deep down, I already knew this wasn't going to be simple. I waited until the street emptied before unfolding the paper. 3 lines. That's all it took to change everything. I'm okay. I can't come back. Trust the plan. No name. No explanation. But I knew it was her. The handwriting, rushed, uneven, carried the same tension she always held in her voice. Relief hit first. Immediate. She was alive. Then confusion. What plan? We hadn't finished anything. Nothing was ready. Nothing was safe yet. Which meant one thing. Something had forced her hand. I read the note again. And again. Looking for something I missed. Hidden meaning. A clue. But there was nothing else. Just those 3 lines. Customers passed by asking for food, but I barely heard them. Because a new question had taken hold. Did she escape? Or was she taken? That night I didn't close early. I stayed longer than I ever had, watching the street like it might give me answers. It didn't. But just as I was about to pack up, I noticed something strange. Across the road. The black car again. Parked. Engine off. Watching. And for the first time, I realized this wasn't over. Not even close. The next morning I made a decision. I wasn't going to wait. Mara had a plan. I needed to understand it. But the truth was I had almost nothing to go on. No address. No contacts. No safe location. Just a note that raised more questions than answers. So I started where I could. The places she mentioned in passing. The routines she described. I followed fragments. And every fragment led back to the same reality. Adrian Kroll controlled everything. Which meant escaping him wouldn't be random. It would be strategic. And that's when something clicked. Mara wasn't improvising. She was finishing something we started. Just faster than expected. That thought gave me some relief. Until it didn't. Because if she accelerated the plan, it meant the danger had escalated too. Later that day, someone unexpected approached the stall. Tomas Eirik. A regular. The kind of guy who notices everything but rarely speaks on it. You look like you lost something, he said. Maybe I did, I replied. He studied me for a moment. Then leaned in slightly. That man, the one with the black car? I froze. What about him? Tomas exhaled slowly. He's asking questions. Pause. About you. And just like that, the situation shifted again. Once you know you're being watched, everything feels different. Every movement. Every conversation. Every glance. I started noticing patterns I couldn't ignore. The same footsteps at different hours. The same shadows where there shouldn't be any. Always. That car. I tried to stay normal. Serve food. Keep routines. Avoid drawing attention. But inside the pressure was building. Because this wasn't just about Mara anymore. It was about me. And what I had already done. Tomas came by again that evening. You should be careful, he said quietly. I am. He shook his head. No. You think you are. That didn't sit well. What do you know? I asked. He hesitated. Then said something that changed everything. That woman. She wasn't as trapped as you think. I stared at him. What does that mean? It means, he said slowly, some people don't just run from something. They run toward something. Before I could press further, he stepped back. Just don't assume you know the whole story. He left me with that. And nothing else. That night as I stood alone at the stall, I realized something unsettling. I had been helping Mara escape. But I never asked what she was escaping for. Tomas's words didn't leave me. They sat in the back of my mind, reshaping everything I thought I understood. So I started revisiting every conversation I'd had with Mara. Every detail. Every hesitation. Slowly, cracks began to show. She never spoke about her past clearly. Avoided specifics. Deflected questions about her life before Adrian. At the time I thought it was fear. Well, I wasn't so sure. That night something else happened. A woman approached the stall, well-dressed, composed, nothing like my usual customers. "Are you the one who's been helping Mara Voss?" she asked directly. I didn't answer. She smiled faintly. "I'm not here to cause trouble." "Then why are you here?" "To warn you." Her tone was calm, too calm. "You think you saved her," she continued. "But you may have just made things worse. Voss. For everyone." "Who are you?" I asked. She ignored the question. "Adrian isn't the only one looking for her." That landed harder than anything else. "What does that mean?" She stepped back. "It means you're involved in something bigger than you realize." Then she turned and walked away, leaving me with a realization I couldn't ignore anymore. The story was never as simple as it seemed. By this point I had two options: walk away, or go deeper. And the truth is I already knew my answer. Because no matter what secrets Mara had, no matter what I didn't understand, I remembered the way she looked that first night. Afraid, trapped, human. That didn't change. So I stayed. But staying came with consequences. That same night Adrian returned. No warning this time. No distance. He walked straight up to the stall, his expression colder than before. "You've been busy," he said. "I sell food," I replied. He didn't react. "She left," he continued. "And you helped." It wasn't a question. I said nothing. He leaned in slightly. "Do you know what happens when people interfere in things they don't understand?" I met his gaze. "Do you?" A flicker of irritation crossed his face, brief but real. Then he straightened. "You'll find out," he said. Before leaving he added one final line. "She won't come back for you." That should have ended it. Then it did the opposite. As for the first time, I wasn't waiting for Mara anymore. I was expecting something. Came 3 days later. Not a message. Not a person. A package. No return address. Left quietly beside the stall before I arrived. Inside there was no letter. No explanation. Just two things. A small key. And a photograph. I picked up the photo first. And everything inside me went still. It was Mara. But not the Mara I knew. She stood in a completely different setting. Confident, composed, almost unrecognizable. Beside her, a building I didn't recognize. Large. Elegant. Far removed from the world she used to visit. I flipped the photo over. An address. That's it. No instructions. No context. Just a destination. Then I looked at the key. Old-fashioned. Solid. Not something you carry casually. My mind raced through possibilities. Trap. Test. Invitation. Then I noticed something else. Carved faintly into the key's handle. A symbol. One I had seen before. On something Adrian carried. Which meant one thing. Whatever Mara had started was now pulling me directly into it. And this time, there was no turning back. I didn't go immediately. Anyone with sense wouldn't. An unmarked package. A key. A photograph of a woman I barely recognized. And an address tied somehow to the same man who had just threatened me. Everything about it screamed danger. But curiosity, and something deeper, pulled harder. So I closed the stall early the next day and made my way across the city. The further I went, the more the surroundings changed. The narrow streets I knew gave way to quieter roads, cleaner air, buildings that stood with a kind of silent authority. Then I saw it. The building from the photograph. Restored. Not flashy but undeniably powerful. This wasn't just wealth. This was influence. I stood across the street for a long moment, the key heavy in my pocket. People walked in and out like it was normal. Like this place belonged to their world, not mine. I almost turned back. Almost convinced myself this wasn't my place. But then I remembered Mara's voice. Trust the plan. So I crossed the street. The door wasn't locked. But inside there was a second door. Old. Reinforced. With a lock that matched the key in my hand. My pulse slowed. Every instinct told me this was the point of no return. I hesitated just long enough to consider the consequences. Then I inserted the key. It clicked. Loud. Final. The door opened slowly, revealing a dim hallway stretching further than I expected. And somewhere inside, a voice echoed. About time you arrived. I stepped inside carefully, the door closing behind me with a weight that felt intentional. The hallway smelled faintly of polished wood and something older. History, maybe. At the far end stood a man I had never seen before. But somehow, he looked like he'd been expecting me. You're early, he said calmly. I wasn't given a time, I replied. A faint smile. Fair. He stepped closer, studying me in a way that made me uncomfortable. Name's Elias Verne, he said. And you've caused quite a disturbance. I'm just looking for Mara Voss. That made him pause. Then surprisingly he nodded. Of course you are. Something about his tone felt respectful, which didn't make sense. What is this place? I asked. A crossroads, he said simply. For people starting over. That answer raised more questions than it answered. And Mara? Elias glanced toward a door behind him. She's ahead of you, he said. Always has been. I didn't like how that sounded. Is she safe? He held my gaze. Yes. A beat. Because of you. That hit harder than I expected. Then why bring me here? Elias stepped aside, revealing the door. Because she asked us to. That word lingered. You'll understand soon enough, he added. I hesitated. One last moment of doubt. Then I moved forward. Hand on the door. Heart steady. I opened it. And what I saw inside was nothing like I expected. The room wasn't what I expected. No shadows. No secrecy. Light filled the space. Natural, warm, intentional. And at the center was Mara. But not the Mara I knew. She stood differently. Confident. Grounded. Like someone who had finally stepped into her own life. For a moment neither of us spoke. Then she smiled. Not cautiously. Not nervously. Freely. You came, she said. I exhaled a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. You disappeared. I had to. There was no apology in her voice, just certainty. I stepped closer, searching her face for something familiar. It wasn't finished, I said. The plan. She nodded. It was. That stopped me. What do you mean? She gestured around us. This is what I was building. I looked around again. Offices. People working. Quiet energy. This is yours. Part of it, she said. The pieces didn't fit. You were trapped, I said. You needed to escape. Her expression softened. I was trapped, she agreed. But not in the way you thought. Pause. I needed to disappear, so I could come back stronger. That changed everything. So all of this, I started before you met me, she finished. Silence fell between us. Not uncomfortable. Just heavy with realization. You helped me take the final step, she said gently. But you were never the beginning of the story. That should have bothered me. But it didn't. Because something else mattered more. You're safe, I said. She smiled again. Yes. Then her expression shifted slightly. Now it's time you understand why you're really here. We moved into a quieter room. Just the two of us. No distractions. No observers. This is where it gets complicated, Mara said. It already is, I replied. She nodded. Adrian Kroll wasn't just controlling, she began. He was strategic. I listened carefully. He built his reputation on influence, investments, partnerships, networks, she continued. But behind that, he controlled people the same way he controlled me. That didn't surprise me. But here's what you didn't know, she added. I leaned forward slightly. I was part of it. That stopped everything. What? I helped build his world, she said calmly. Before I realized what it was becoming. Pieces started shifting in my mind. You weren't just his wife, I said slowly. No, she replied. I was his equal. That changed the entire story. So why leave? Her eyes hardened slightly. Because he stopped seeing people as people. Pause. They became assets. And you? I refused to. Silence again. So you walked away from everything? I asked. I tried, she corrected. Adrian doesn't let things go. That part I believed. So this place, I gestured around, is my answer to him, she said. A countermove. A rebuild. A quiet rebellion. And you, she added, looking directly at me, are the reason it worked. That didn't make sense. Why me? She smiled faintly. Because you treated me like a person, when I needed it most. And somehow, that mattered more than anything else. Just when things started to make sense, they shifted again. Elias entered the room without knocking. We have a situation, he said. Mar didn't look surprised. Adrian, she asked. Elias nodded. He knows where we are. The air changed instantly. How? I asked. Elias looked at me briefly. Because he followed the same trail you did. That hit hard. I had led him here. Mar didn't react with anger. Only focus. Time, she asked. Not long. Pause. Then she turned to me. This is why I brought you here now. I frowned. You knew this would happen? I knew it was possible. That wasn't comforting. What do we do? I asked. Mara stood calm but decisive. We don't run. That surprised me. You're not afraid of him? I asked. She met my gaze. Not anymore. Elias added, he's walking into something he doesn't understand. That sounded familiar. And dangerous. Mara moved toward the door. Come with me, she said. See this through. I hesitated for half a second. Then followed. Because whatever this was, it was about to reach its breaking point. They didn't hide. That was the first thing I noticed. No panic. No scrambling. Just preparation. Mara led me to a large open hall near the entrance. Glass panels. Open space. Visibility from every angle. This is intentional, she said. You want him to see everything, I realized. She nodded. Moments later, the doors opened. And Adrian Kroll walked in. Same posture. Same control. But this time, something was different. He wasn't in charge here. His eyes locked onto Mara immediately. You've been busy, he said. She didn't respond. He glanced at me next. A flicker of recognition. Then back to her. You think this changes anything? Mara stepped forward. It already has. There was no fear in her voice. Only certainty. That unsettled him. I could see it. You built this on my foundation, he said sharply. I built it on what you destroyed, she replied. Silence stretched. Heavy. Then Adrian laughed softly. You still don't understand, he said. I always win. Mara's expression didn't change. No, she said quietly. This time, you don't. And for the first time since I met him, Adrian Kroll hesitated. What happened next wasn't loud. It was precise. Elias stepped forward, placing a folder on the table between them. Everything you've hidden, he said calmly. Adrian didn't touch it. But his expression shifted. Just slightly. What is this? He asked. Proof, Mara said. Of what you've been doing. The room felt tighter. More focused. You think this matters? Adrian replied. No, Mara said. I know it does. Elias added, it's already been sent. That changed everything. For review. For investigation, he continued. Adrian's control cracked. Not visibly but internally. I could feel it. You're bluffing, he said. Mara shook her head. I learned from you, she said. Pause. You taught me how to build systems. And how to dismantle them. That landed. Hard. For the first time, Adrian didn't have a response ready. He looked around the room. At the people. At the structure. And realized something he hadn't before. This wasn't just a place. It was a network. And he was already outside of it. You've made a mistake, he said finally. Mara stepped closer. No, she replied. You did. And just like that, the balance of power shifted completely. Adrian didn't leave immediately. Men like him don't. They hold on to control until the last possible moment. But the room had already moved past him. Phones rang. People coordinated. Elias spoke quietly with others. Things were already in motion. You're finished, Mara said, not as a threat. As a fact. Adrian's jaw tightened. You think this ends me? No, she said. I think this reveals you. That was worse. Because reputation was everything to him. No. It was slipping. He looked at me one last time. You, he said. This started with you. I didn't respond. As for once, I wasn't unsure. He turned and walked out. Not defeated in posture, but alone. Completely alone. And sometimes, that's the real loss. After he left, the silence felt different. Lighter. Like something heavy had finally lifted. Mara turned to me. This is where your story changes, she said. I frowned. Whine. She nodded. You helped me when there was nothing to gain. That's not why I did it. I know, she said. That's why it matters. She gestured around. This place helps people start over. I looked at her. And you want me to? Be part of it. That caught me off guard. I'm not like you, I said. You don't need to be, she replied. You just need to be who you already are. That hit deeper than expected. As for the first time, I saw it. A path I hadn't imagined. Not just surviving, but building something meaningful. I don't know if I can do this, I admitted. Mara smiled. You already did. And somehow, that was enough. Walking through the building again, everything looked different. Not distant. Not unreachable. Possible. People greeted Mara with respect. Some nodded to me not because they knew me, but because she trusted me. That carried weight. Elias approached. You have good instincts, he said. I followed them, I replied. That's rarer than you think. I looked around again. This is real, I said. Yes, he replied. And now you're part of it. That moment, that realization, changed something inside me. It is for the first time in a long time. I wasn't just reacting to life. I was stepping into it. Weeks later, I stood back at my stall. Same place. Same street. But nothing felt the same. As now, it wasn't the end of my world. It was the beginning. Mara visited occasionally. Not as someone in need, but as someone who remembered. You kept this, she said one evening. I needed to, I replied. She nodded. So do others. That's when I understood. This wasn't about leaving where you came from. It was about expanding beyond it. And bringing others with you. If you had asked me back then why I helped Mara Voss, I wouldn't have had a powerful answer. I didn't do it for a reward. I didn't do it because I knew who she would become. I did it because, in that moment, she needed someone, and I chose not to look away. That's it. But standing here now, I understand something I didn't before. Kindness is never just a moment. It's a ripple. And ripples don't stop where you think they do. They travel, quietly, unseen, until one day they come back to you in ways you never expected. Mara didn't just return with success. She returned with truth. That the smallest act, a warm meal, a listening ear, a moment of courage, can become the turning point in someone's entire life. And here's the part people don't talk about enough. You won't always see the outcome. You won't always get closure. And sometimes, it will feel like it meant nothing. But it does. It always does. Because while I thought I was helping her escape, she was building something that would one day pull me forward too. If you had told me that one quiet night at a food stall would change the entire direction of my life, I wouldn't have believed you. Back then it felt small. Insignificant even. Just a warm plate of food. A few minutes of listening. A decision to care when I didn't have to. But standing where I am now, I see it clearly. That moment didn't stay small. It grew. Moved. It came back. Not as luck. Not as coincidence. But as something earned. Mara didn't just return with life-changing news. She returned with something deeper. Proof. Proof that kindness isn't weak. Proof that doing the right thing doesn't go unnoticed. Proof that even when the world feels unfair, something keeps score. And maybe the hardest truth to accept is this. You don't always see the impact of what you do. Not right away. Not when it matters most. Sometimes, it disappears into silence. Sometimes, people walk away. Sometimes, you're left wondering if it meant anything at all. But it does. It always does. Because the way you treat people builds something. Reputation. Trust. Ripples you can't track. And one day when you least expect it, it finds its way back to you. Bigger. Stronger. Life-changing. So here's what I've learned. Be kind when it's inconvenient. Help when there's no reward. Stand firm when it would be easier to walk away. Because one day, someone might come back into your life and prove that everything you did mattered more than you ever knew. And when that moment comes, It won't just change your life. It will remind you who you were all along. If this story made you feel something, pause for a second. What's one moment where you chose kindness, even when it was hard? Drop it in the comments. As you never know, your story might be the one someone else needs to hear today.